Hello and welcome back to Steven University. A sentence I didn't expect to be saying for quite some time, and I didn't wake up this morning expecting to say it either. It's this is a remarkable thing to be happening. How you feeling, Chris?
You know what's mad, right?
Yeah.
I swear to you.
Yeah.
I swear, like yesterday or the day before, I was thinking about Steven Universe, and I was like, surely that's rife for like a sequel or something.
Yeah.
Like I honestly was thinking about it within the last couple of days.
That's incredible. I mean, it is kind of incredible because, like, Rebecca Sugar recently announced a new album she's working on. And that's got some sort of, like, it's got an animated element to it. Like, it's, you know, she'd released a little teaser for it that had, like, a small animation in it that's sort of mildly Steven Universe coded in terms of, 'cause it's her art style. And I looked at that and went, oh, she might release some little, like, music videos to go with it that are animated, you know, and they're just sort of scratching that itch for her because she's just happy working on her music or whatever. And I thought, God, it'd be good if she went back to it, though. And that wasn't that long ago. That was, like, literally, like, last week, I think. So yeah, really incredible. Let's start with what we think this is going to look like. So let's start with the news. We haven't even said the news for anyone listening. So they've announced at an event. What was the event actually? It was at the Warner Brothers Animation, Cartoon Network Studios, and Hanna-Barbera Studios Europe Showcase.
Of course it was.
It just rolls off the tongue. That was at the International Animation Film Festival.
I'm so fed up of us having to get all our news from this festival. Like, how often are we going to have to keep chatting about it?
It's silly. It's always this one conference at this one festival. Just all the news comes from it. Rebecca Sugar hit the stage to also apparently to talk about some other stuff. I think there was discussions of her work with the Fiona and Cake team as well on that, which is I think she's contributed songs and stuff to that. But basically, for those of you out of the loop, and I'm sure you're not, what was announced was a new Steven Universe spin-off sequel series that's in the works. It will not be airing on Cartoon Network because that has basically been all but gutted to death. It's called Steven Universe, Lars of the Stars, and is currently being developed for Prime Video. Now, the Variety article I have does not mention that it hasn't been fully picked up, but the Deadline article is very cautious with its wording. And how did you say it phrased it, Chris? Is like if greenlit are the words used.
Yeah, like literally. So it says the new version will, however, they're talking about Cartoon Network, and it says the new version will, however, not air on the network, but on the Amazon streamer if it makes it to Greenlight. Right. I've just realised I was sort of looking at the article during that entire first bit of the conversation and not really at all at the microphone. So apologies if I've been oddly quiet for the first like couple of minutes of this. Sorry, everyone.
That's all good. That's all good. The news is unveiled at this Annie C event, whatever it was, the thing I talked about earlier, which I don't know a lot about, but there's a little log line, which I will read now, which is Steven Universe, Lars of the Stars explores the past, present, and future of the universe. The sequel follows Lars Barriga? Eternal Teenager and Space Outlaw. Oh yeah, Eternal Teenager. He can't age. He can't die. As he and his pirate crew smuggle contraband, evade the authorities, and uncover the darkest secrets of the fallen Gem Empire. Unless I'm misremembering, it's been a very long time. But since he got pinked and revived by Steven, is he immortal now? Is that what we learnt? Is that a thing?
Yeah, he's immortal.
Yeah, okay. So this is after, by the sound of it, based on the phrasing here.
Yeah, but there's also a quote. Steven Universe, again, Deadline. Steven Universe, Lars of the Stars explores the past, present, and future of the universe. For me, there's two interesting things about that: the past, present, and future, and also the fact that it's coloned. It's Steven Universe, Lars of the Stars. Now, is that a branding thing, and it's just the franchise is now called Steven Universe, or are we seeing some? Surely we're seeing a little Steven. We're seeing the crystal gems, aren't we? Surely.
Well,
surely.
this is what's interesting about this, because I suspect it's probably a branding thing, because I just think from a creative perspective, we left Steven specifically in a pretty closed place. And I'm not saying that's going to stop him from appearing. I wouldn't doubt Steven having some role in a small way in this. But I do think for this show to stand on its own, at least at first, they have to make a compelling story for Lars, right? And I think what's super interesting about this situation we have is, like, you know, Lars kind of had quite a lot of character growth off screen in the original show, because he went off on his space adventures, and every time we saw him, he seemed to be a lot more well adjusted than where we left him, right? And that sort of happened off screen. This does say that it's going to uncover the darkest secrets of the fallen Gem Empire, which suggests it's set, at least primarily, after the show as we know it, because the fallen Gem Empire. So it's at least post the Steven Universe finale. But the last time we saw Lars was in future, when they're after a little graduation, when him and his crew picked up and moved on, and Steven had a hard time understanding why Lars couldn't just stay forever, as part of his sort of trauma. And so, yeah, I really don't know how we do this. And also in terms of, like, Lars as a character, from character development perspective, are we going to have to do a little bit of resetting to have somewhere to go with him? Or I assume they found a new sort of angle to approach Lars from. Because I think as he's gonna be the lead of this, I feel. And if that's the case, like, what sort of angle are we taking on his growth? Is it him sort of learning to actually accept he's more capable than he used to think? Is it him sort of growing into the captain but we kind of, again, we did a little bit of that off screen in the original show. He always seemed much more confident and together and with it when we saw him in those glimpses over the years post him, stealing that ship and running off and being a cool space captain.
And cool space captain he was.
I mean, the thing I like about this is that we're potentially doing Star Trek. It's just going to be Lars and crew running around doing, like, solving problems and stuff. I love that.
Well, Star Trek and the notion of the fallen Crystal Gem Empire, Star Trek and a little kind of Star Wars in, some of the sequel media has dealt with, what the Empire at various different stages and stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's what's cool as well, because I was my initial thought was like, this might try and avoid being gem lore, like, too much. Just, like, let it be its own thing. Let Lars stumble across other races and things and situations out in the universe. But that logline does say, evade the authorities and uncover the darkest secrets of the fallen Gem Empire. So you've got to sort of imagine, right, the Gem Empire has sort of collapsed, Steven topples it. But it's widespread. How far does that news travel? Are there still... we know there are still going to be factions of it out there that don't even know that things have changed. And is he coming across that? What are we exploring? And of course, a lot of people have been uncovering quotes, and I've got to give some credit to who am I crediting here? On our Ultraman 193 on our Discord, who saw some quotes. Actually, the quotes came from Elysian, but Ultraman was able to pull out their the art books, the End of an Era, the book that came out after Future, and found some quotes about dropped storylines that I think might potentially be part of this. So this first quote comes from Jack Pendarvis, who I guess worked on the series Future, and said, the extra Lars episode would have also been nice because we were planning to include clues about diamond prehistory and gem religion, I suppose you could call it. Very early on, there was the idea that the final 4 episodes would consist of a cosmic journey into the origins of the diamonds and gem culture. There was a remnant of that in the Lars idea, and then the episode fell by the wayside, and a lot of the secret ideas went away with it. So that's something that changed as the complicated, intense nature of Steven's own arc became apparent. So do we think we're reviving some of these ideas, and does that interest you, Chris? Specifically you.
I think we're definitely reviving some of those some of those ideas, and it absolutely interests me. Like, it sounds corny. I don't know how this sounds to say, right? But here's the thing that excites me most, full stop, about this idea. It's what I'd have chosen. If someone had said to me, Steven Universe spin-off, Not a sequel series, because obviously there's... Actually, to be honest with you, even... You know what? It. If someone had said... Oh, there goes our monetization, sorry. We got it up quick, but...
I might bleep that one.
Yeah, that's fair.
We very rarely do that, but like this is the one time we're actually going to have an episode out in a timely fashion, so I might take advantage.
Yeah, that's fair. Shout out. Oh, actually, we'll talk about that in a second. Remind me, I want to give a shout out. But if someone had said to me, right, you can choose a piece of Steven Universe media, I'd have been like, they wrapped up against all odds. Or would I actually want to explore the love story that we didn't really get to explore? Maybe that, but then you'd be wondering where the other gems were. No, I'm stand by. I would choose this. I think Steven's story wrapped up, and was told, and we dealt brilliantly against all odds with his trauma in Steven Universe Future. So I think I'd have probably gone, you know what? Give me a Lars spin-off. Like let's see Lars bobbing around the universe. I think there's a chance I'd have chosen this. So fair play, because also all the other characters, it feels the most. It's the biggest well to draw upon, and actually,
yes.
Through this format, if we wanted to, we can return to the other characters if we want to. We can see them as well. There's no issue with that. It's so exciting. It's so exciting, and I think it's absolutely the right decision for a spin-off. I hope it definitely is greenlit. And if Rebecca Sugar is just going sod it, I'm gonna announce it, get people excited, and then it will definitely get greenlit. Well, then fair play. I'm not saying she is doing that, but that's one explanation, and I'm here for it if it is.
Yeah, and I think this is actually kind of a perfect situation for this, because we were forced to end the show when we did end the show. So Steven's arc got closed off arguably before we'd done the slow build and exploration of some of the lore. I mean, some of the stuff that was being discussed in that quote I just mentioned sounds really exciting, and it's a shame they never found the time to do that in the original show. You sort of think in a different universe where the show wasn't sort of cut short through other means, we may have got that stuff anyway. And I think this is kind of like a best of both worlds, right? We have a new character at the centre to go on a new arc, whatever that arc is. And I questioned earlier, like, what's left to do with Lars? I'm sure they've thought of something, or they wouldn't be writing this show. They've obviously got some sort of story they want to tell. But because of his position, being out in the stars, exploring the sort of depths of space and coming across some of the secrets of the old Gem Empire before it sort of saw the error in its ways, that's a great way to get lore in too. And if we are just doing this Star Trek style, where every week we fight with, they stumble across a new planet and a new situation and try to help, and it's a situation made worse by the gems, and their previous, the Gempire itself, like making the life for the rest of the world, the universe bad, and then sort of going around fixing it. I am very on board with that. I think that's a really fun idea. And also, he's got a big old crew as well for us to explore the histories of. I think this might be the best case scenario in our current situation in terms of being able to have a fun, episodic feeling show that can also, whenever it feels like it, dip into the lore without it feeling really like forced. Because Lars is in a perfect position to get that information.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's the most logical from a storytelling point of view, for sure.
Yeah. And we've got more quotes here as well, actually, from the same book that I've just been sent. So we got Tankia Stotts and Kate Sang, who both also talked about lost ideas that also fit right into this, that have been pulled up. So, Tanika. Rebecca drew some amazing sketches for a Rhodonite episode we wrote. They included a character I personally wanted to write more about, which was Morganite. It was great to be able to break that story, even if it wasn't in the final 20. I believe the interest in the past and in diamond lore is something everyone wanted to see incorporated, but because it would help us come full circle into the future. And then Kate also adds, we also bounced around an idea early on about Steven going into space for a multi-story arc where he learns about the birthplace of the diamonds. So obviously then the journey focused more on Steven's trauma.
Here's a devil's advocate question then, Dan. Is that too deep for a show that ideally would attract new audiences? Because you could absolutely do a version of this show where it's just called Lars of the Stars, and you don't have the Steven Universe tag, and it's, Lars bobbing around, and we do stuff about, gem culture or whatever, diamond histories, but it's accessible to new audiences. Does something like what you're describing there, if that is the route they're going down, does something like having the Steven Universe preface, is that potentially alienating to new viewers in a way that it might be damaging?
Yeah, I mean, there's always
I
a
don't
danger.
necessarily feel that way, but it's a discussion podcast, baby.
I think you're potentially right, but I think Amazon will have weighed that up when they commissioned the show, because I think you commission any sort of sequel series, spin-off, you're always going to be slightly concerned about that balance of, are you creating something where the ceiling is just fans of the original show, in which case you have to be sure there's enough of them to warrant its existence, or are you hoping to sort of create a new episode 1 that will both attract the old fans and potentially create new ones? And that balance is really hard to strike. And I think when you look at this logo they've put out, and I don't know if this is the official logo, it seems to be, because it's on every article about this, and it does say credit Cartoon Network Studios, so I'm guessing Cartoon Network have released this, and it has the 2005 Warner Brothers, WBEI, trademark thing at the bottom of it. But this logo that's been put out, Lars of the Stars is very prominent as the title. Steven Universe is a small part above it, and I feel like, I think they're obviously trying to go for a balance. They're trying to do a bit of both, I think, with this, and it'll very much depend on what the rest of the marketing materials look like, whether that works or not. But I agree with you, there is an element of risk to this. But it could very well be that in some territories, Amazon have Steven Universe as part of Prime, and it's done crazy numbers. Maybe they just see a huge audience. I'd have to double check that. But I mean, presumably they sell the episodes, because most of these platforms, sell the shows for, I don't know, whatever it is, like 12 quid a season, £2 quid an episode or whatever. And maybe they've seen a huge amount of activity on that show and just gone, we think that there's something in this, and they don't really mind that it's going to be obviously a little bit inside baseball, a little bit like you need to already be a fan. Maybe they're hoping it'll revitalize interest in the original show, which they currently have, the back catalogue to, or are about to acquire through this same deal.
Well,
it's hard to say.
That's what I was going to say. So at the moment, you have to buy it. It's not on Prime, as far as I can tell.
It's not part of the
Somehow it's 7 seasons on Prime, so they're just dividing the seasons up a weird way. It looks like every 10 episodes counts as a season, as far as I can tell, which is bizarre, but okay. So yeah, I think the key thing in terms of what you've just said is don't make the mistake that Disney Plus have made with Doctor Who. Like, if you truly want it to be a success, also fight tooth and nail. And look, this seems to be in partnership with Cartoon Network, so maybe this won't be that difficult. But fight tooth and nail and get the rights to have the back catalogue on there as well. Because Disney Plus have not gained subscribers with the new Doctor Who and kept them because they haven't got the back catalogue to continue exploring. This might inspire a rewatch from people. It might inspire people who have never seen the show but like this sequel, going, I'll check out the original. It's a really good idea in terms of retention of subscribers, which is ultimately what all of these streamers are looking to do. But in order to do that, you need the back catalogue. So I hope that the back catalogue is part of whatever deal is being done here.
Yeah, I would agree. I've just double-checked, by the way, something we talked about earlier. Lars isn't immortal. He just has a very, very long life now. He's been pinked, so he's not aging. Because, Lionel's lived for hundreds and hundreds of years. So he's not immortal in the sense of being unable to die. He's long-lived, which is different. He has very slow aging. Right. So I just wanted to... I clarify that now before the comments start. And look, I'm going to say this right now. I've not looked at this show or thought much about this show since we finished, because we spent several years extremely entrenched in the world of this show. And when it finished, I was very happy to put it to bed, not in a negative way, just in that part of, my time with that part of my fandom is over for now. And I put it.
Seem to remember you being fairly negative about the movie, Dan. But
for those who don't know, there's a running thing about my regrets about how harsh I was when we reviewed the movie. Maybe we'll come back to that in the build up to this. I don't know. I am now tempted to. I'm not tempted. I'm gonna have to rewatch the whole show, I think. I don't think there's any way around that. I think because my memory of it is so vague. Like, I was there like, Lars immortal? Is he immortal or something? And I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to Google this. So the fact that I forgot even that tells you that I have some rewatching to do.
Mate, I clearly have forgotten character names, so I wouldn't worry too much. But I don't think that's worth starting until we know if it's greenlit, when it's happening,
sure.
etc.
Yeah. But I'm excited about it. I mean, it was only literally like a few months ago I did say to Nadia, like, it'd be fun to rewatch that show. Like, now it's all finished with all the hindsight and stuff. And I've not rewatched the show since it ended. And I had rewatched, the first few seasons multiple times over the years. But like the later seasons, they aired. We recorded the podcast on them, and then I didn't often go back to those episodes. So it'd be really good, especially for the late end. The latter end, like the Steven Universe Future stuff and the actual end of the original show. I don't think I've rewatched much since they first aired. I have gone back to the movie at least once since then, though, and had a good time rewatching it. So, thus proving.
Look, we all enjoy a good hate watch every now and again, sure. But,
yeah. Chris likes to wind me up because he knows I feel regret about how mean I was about that. But look, I think this. I wouldn't. For those listening who have heard our use of the phrase, if greenlit, I would say if they're announcing it at this event, it's pretty much happening. Maybe they've not officially announced it, or maybe there's still technically an IoT to dot, but it looks like this is happening, and it looks like everyone's quite happy with it, because they wouldn't be announcing it otherwise. So let's, certainly not with like an official logo, and Rebecca coming out on a stage, and even saying who they've partnered with. I think this is looking pretty likely to happen, and I'm pretty damn excited about it. I think this is a perfect excuse to return to this world. I'm so excited to see what they're going to do with Lars. I would love to know more about his crew. That's a bunch of gems we don't know a lot about. They had pretty rough lives, the Off-Colors, before we team them up with Lars. There's a bunch of planets to explore and new characters to meet that way. I don't know, there's 100 things we could do with this show. It just has so much scope. And they have not described it as a limited series. So it could just run if it wanted.
Yeah, I'd quite like episodic, if I'm honest.
Yes, that's my feeling.
Well, the format for Steven Universe worked fine. Episodic, but there's some, enough shows don't. Steven Universe, especially in the earlier years, and the Doctor Who revival take a shot in its first year. A subtle Bad Wolf-esque serial storyline is what I'm after from a show like this now, and it's what I think. The way television is handling uncertainty these days, like from just cliffhangers that just feel like a show has been chopped, a season has been chopped in half, or wrapping it up so neatly that you almost feel they're not getting a second season because there's no point. Like, I just quite like a balance, and I think that sort of Series 1, early Doctor Who revival, early Steven Universe approach is a really good one, and I want more shows to do it, and this is the perfect show to do that.
Yeah, and like
we haven't talked about one big. I know we've got a little bit of a time limit, mainly because of me, and I'm now bringing something up. We've not talked about the potential freedom that Amazon Prime brings it in terms of there were clearly difficulties around what could and couldn't be aired with the Cartoon Network situation, and the fact that it is Amazon Prime and potentially more free, potentially. I don't quite know if Amazon Prime's had controversy for things and not showing things, but I don't think they have.
This is the network,
Cartoon Network or Disney.
This is the network that airs The Boys.
Yeah, so, I think one of the most exciting elements of this announcement is the fact that it's going to be on Amazon Prime.
Yes, because it's not going to have the restrictions of Cartoon Network. And also, I do feel a little bit like they're going to aim this up a little bit, like they're going to sort of follow their audience age-wise. The people who grew up watching Steven Universe as children are now going to be, and we aren't the core audience of Steven Universe, we've never been. But what I think they might do is age the tone of the show up. to now hit the teenagers that watched Steven Universe growing up. And I think that's potentially really clever too. And I hope that does mean we can have more representation and, more really great storytelling with different perspectives that we can sort of bite our teeth, as two white cis guys, that we can sort of sink our teeth into, because what a learning experience for us Steven Universe was. I think both of us benefited from watching that show and hearing from people in those communities who that show connected us to. When we were in the height of doing Steven Universe coverage, we were getting emails really regularly from people who are part of the LGBTQ plus community, with their thoughts. And it was, and it was really important to us that even though we were coming at the show from the perspective of two straight white cis guys, which is just, that's just what we are, it was really good to be able to get that feedback. And I'm really excited that the show might include more stuff that we can sort of sink our teeth into and learn more about the other elements of areas like that, and can really, I'm just looking forward to the show challenging people in other ways, and challenging what people think is acceptable to put on TV when actually it should be fine, as was always the case. But I like the idea that the show is going to have a little bit more free reign, because and I'm not going to say why, but if Amazon will allow The Boys with some of the content in that show, I don't think they would have the right to tell any show to tone it down for anything. To be honest with you.
No, not at all. And obviously, it's got such a wide network as well. It's sort of really the perfect streamer for this, so it's amazing.
Yeah. My last quick thought that I was going to get to before we got waylaid on that one, although that was a really good point, I'm glad you brought that up, is someone did just mention, I just noticed, that Lars was sort of, specifically it seems, when he was last seen mopping up some of the gem stuff on the edge of society. That was kind of one of his roles. So maybe we're just going to continue with where he was from there.
Maybe. I feel like so long has passed that they don't need to do that, but who knows? Yeah. Maybe they will.
Yeah, I think for a little... Wait, he goes back... Someone's saying he went back to the donut shop for a bit. I don't remember. Look, we'll come back to this. There'll be more. What this officially means, though, I think, Chris, and this is the exciting part, is we are technically back on hiatus. The eternal hiatus never goes away. It never stops. We're always in hiatus. We're back. So we'll have time between now and then to do a proper... I think what we'll do, at some point between now and more information, and there's no promise on when this will be, this might be months down the line, we'll do a proper episode where we've had time to properly think about this, look at where Lars was, and maybe make some predictions for what they might be tackling in the show. How about that? We can have we can with knowledge, with some information, past this initial excitement where we've literally read the news and turned on our microphones like idiots.
Well, that leans into my shout out, because I was really hoping, and I even did it in I can't swear. I even did it in like the way I wrote it was sort of like assuming you knew, but also I was kind of hoping that maybe I was sort of telling. The reaction I wanted from the messages was, what does he mean? We might need to record a Steven Universe, and then you Google. But from how you responded, I assumed that wasn't the case. I didn't break the news to
I saw it on.
Why wasn't I the first person you text? Given that when I found out the news, my immediate thing was to message you.
So you were pretty much the first. What happened was I saw it on Reddit and thought it was fake, basically. So I swung over to the Discord to see people chatting about it, and I was like, no, this seems legit, and then I messaged you. I saw it on Reddit, checked the Discord, had a couple of messages back and forth there, just to get that initial shock out of my system, and then I messaged you. I messaged you within a few minutes of finding out, but it was there was a I don't quite believe it moment first, where I had to sort of almost like pinch myself and verify. But when I turned to my WhatsApp texts, and the message I had from you was like, oh, I guess we'll have to sneak in a Steven University when we record this. I was like, mate, you can go yourself. Damn it, I got to bleep that too. But I was like, mate, we're doing it now. We're going now.
Yeah. Sort of asked if I was willing in a way that gave me very little choice, which obviously happy to do it. But shout out, I'll give a shout out to Scott and Richard. Scott told Richard told me, for them being how I found out the news so quickly. Because isn't that crazy? I had someone message me about this news, Dan.
Yeah.
My good friend Richard sent me a screenshot.
Yeah.
And he was like, he said Scott is very excited, and and I think I replied something like, "Well, hot damn," or something like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, look, a little credit to
my.
everyone in the Discord as well. So it's like Bianca,
Yes.
Ultraman, Elysian, Cram. I'm sure I'm missing someone, and I feel bad about that. But they've all been discussing it, and I definitely like some of the way in which I was able to organize my thoughts quickly enough to do this. Oh, Ella as well. Was because they had that chat, and it helped sort of solidify what I thought. Like, if that makes sense, because sometimes your thoughts are all swirling, and then someone says, "Oh, I think it should be this," and you go, "Ooh, that's close, but I think I want this," and it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it helped me sort of feel like sort of actually solidify my thoughts in a way that I wouldn't normally be able to do this quickly.
Yeah, I think our thoughts, your thoughts, have always been very aligned with that group of people, except on the movie, obviously. But
can't resist. All we need now to really make this feel like a classic Steven Universe is to have what did we call him? Dave, the learner driver that you used to see.
Oh yeah, Dave. I'll see. I'll ask my because I don't live there anymore. But I'll ask my mum and dad for a Dave update.
Well, that wasn't the last Dave update that we theorized Dave was driving around in a big fancy car because they'd passed. Was that not how we ended that? I think it was.
Yeah, it's been so long. I could only assume Dave's got kids. I can only. That's my assumption on Dave.
Yeah, Dave is about to get his own spin-off show now about how his kids are learning to drive.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about this though. I am really excited to be doing this again, and this is huge news. Like, I've loved doing Avatar, but this is the stuff right here. I'm excited.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to know that there was immediate chat on the Discord about it. It shows how good a community that is. Yes. That even after time away, when people hear that news, they think to talk about it there, which is lovely. So shout out to everyone on the Discord, everyone that's messaged, and just anyone listening.
Yeah,
big
absolutely.
Shout out.
Yeah, we love you all. We'll look forward to it. So I don't remember how we ended the podcast. Did we have a sign off, like a specific sign off that we used?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, in lieu of me double checking, and I'm sure that if we did have a sign off, people will comment it down below. But I'll check before next time. But we'll just say goodbye here. Look, subscribe to the channel if you've just found us. We'll try and have. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a big gap between now. That we're not going to have regular Steven Universe content until there's something to speak about. But we will, I think between now and the next big piece of news, we'll at least try and do a small 15-20 minute sort of more detailed theorizing discussion where we sort of talk about what the show couldn't be. We've done a bit of that today, but I think we could probably there's definitely something in that. Maybe we'll finally do the much threatened post-grad the movie, where we reanalyze the movie. That could be fun, just to sort of start building the podcast back up again before we go full throttle. But we'll see. That's all maybes, and who knows. For those who don't know, because you'll listen to it with us, Steve. Chris just said it. Chris had a baby, so he's a busy man. So this is probably the worst possible time to have announced more Steven Universe for Chris's sake.
Yeah, I did email Rebecca and say, "Could you take it back?" But apparently not.
No, well, that's a shame. All right, well, thanks everyone for listening. Look, we love you very much. We've gone over the time we said we'd do this in, but yeah, thanks very much. We'll see you guys. Who knows when? But yeah, thanks everyone. I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Pilligan,
and we'll see you in the future.
Bye.
Bye.